Hello and welcome to the Gallant Few Rangers podcast. My name's Colin MacDuff and I'll be returning to the hot seat today, much like how Walter Smith used to let Ali McCoist piss about in the cup games, but always returning for the big occasion. Joining me today to discuss Rangers wins over Kilmarnock and Lech Poznan, Mr. Graeme Currie.
Hello boys, hello listeners.
Iain McCreadie.
Afternoon all.
And Ali himself, Scott Hodge.
Hey Walter, how's it going? I'll take Alan McCoist, to be fair. Record top goal scorer. That'll do me.
Aye, that's not bad. You've been called worse in your time.
Terrible in a managerial sense, though.
I've done the job when nobody wanted it.
Up there with like Gwen.
So, before we discuss the game, we obviously want to pass on our condolences to the friends and family of Marius Zeliukas, who passed away last night at the age of just 36 from motor neuron disease. Zeliukas played 28 games for Rangers during the 2014-15 season, scoring twice. He'll also be remembered as the Scottish Cup winning captain for Heart of Midlothian. A horrible disease, guys, for anyone, but so tragic at such a young age, and our thoughts are with everyone close to the former Rangers defender at this time. Moving on to the football. So, Rangers lined up today away to Kilmarnock with a few changes in the starting 11. We went with Alan McGregor, James Tavernier, Philippe Helander, Connor Golson, Vorna Barisic. Midfield three of Jack, Aribo, Arfield, and Itten, Kent and Morelos as the forward line. So Iain, you spoke last week around changing the forward line and midfield potentially to get in behind Kilmarnock. Is this the lineup you expected, or were there a few surprises there?
I think Itten was the surprise. We were saying as well before, like, if Itten's not going to start at home against Livingston, when is he going to start? And Kilmarnock away wasn't the game when I thought you'd throw him in. I thought he done quite well though today on the right. I thought he was quite good out there. Early on, when we were really in control of the game, we were getting it wide, and there was a stat on the screen, wasn't there? At one point, after 35 minutes, we had 15 crosses into the box. So getting it wide and getting it in seemed to be a tactic. It never really paid off, to be honest. But yeah, we were having a lot of joy getting it out and getting it in, but just not really having that end product.
Graeme, I'm the same as Ian. I thought Rangers started really well, especially in the first 15-20 minutes, and it's probably a different approach for what we've seen for this Rangers team this season. It was very direct. You know, we only had Jack really as that midfield anchor, and the rest of the players were in front of him. It was a very direct approach. Is that the right way to go against Kilmarnock, or do you think we, obviously without the benefit of hindsight, do you think that was the right way to go about it?
Yeah, definitely. I think we were. I don't know if it was Ian or Scott who mentioned it on the last pod that was the way to open up Kilmarnock, was to get it wide. We don't need two sitting midfielders. We just don't. We can control the game. They're not going to come out. They're not going to have players further up the pitch where we need to nullify them. So having the extra player up front or up further forward definitely was the way to go today. But yeah, I think, as I said, Ian or Scott mentioned it in the last pod, that was the way to go, was to get it wide, and it's certainly what we've done that first half, was just getting it to Tav, getting it to Kent, and getting it to Barisic for the crosses into the box, and it worked a treat because it was causing them problems. I know we didn't get lots of shots on target, but it was the most likely route to a goal.
So around the 17-minute mark, there was a great ball in from a Vorna Barisic free kick. Connor Golson gets in a brilliant position, heads it towards goal, but it comes off Kilmarnock defender's arm. Scott, this is a clear penalty. And then upsets James Tavernier for his 430th penalty of the season. This is a great finish by a guy flying in confidence.
Aye, definitely. He seems to have got his confidence back in terms of taking penalties, but just shows you, like, I think Golson's won us quite a few penalties with his aerial threat, and even if he's not sticking at the back of the net, he seems to be connecting with a lot of them. Or I look at the European game as well. Was it Standard Liège? He was up there and got a handball as well. So he's obviously, like, worrying the defences when, you know, the set pieces are coming in. But Tavernier dispatched the penalty brilliantly. I don't think any keeper would have saved that. It was such a powerful strike, and as you say, he's flying just now. It's just how he reacts if he did miss one. You hope that it won't put him off and he's confident stepping up to the next one. So it's obviously a bit different because there's no fans. So there is pressure, of course there's pressure, but I think it halves it, if you know what I mean, that there's no fans behind the net, you know, behind the goals.
I think the penalty that was definitely Stonewall penalty, no arguments from anyone, I don't think, but it was interesting that there was both Tav and Barisic lining up to hit the free kick. Tav done a step over, and I think it was that step over that caused the confusion. It sent the back four, or the back defensive line, it set them back 5 yards. So there was that confusion in the box already before Barisic put the ball in. So just an interesting wee tactic there. Don't know if that's coming from McAllister, because I remember McAllister doing that from the Leeds days. McAllister and Strachan were always doing things like that when they played with Leeds. Those wee sort of tricks to confuse the defence. And I know McAllister then done it again at Liverpool as well. But I'm wondering if he's coaching that, or maybe it was just I suppose it is just a standard thing to do now and again. But yeah, I think that caused the confusion in the box. It then led to a bit of disruption in the back line.
I think you see teams across the whole world try and do that step over, but for example, if it's maybe, I don't know, say Barcelona, if Fati and Messi are standing over the ball, you know, Fati's running, Messi's got to take it anyway. But with Rangers, it can be either Barisic or Tavernier. I think that's why we're so dangerous. We can get both of them, taking them from different areas, or both of them would have fancied putting a decent ball in for that area. So that's, I think you're right there.
If you're a defender, though, it's hard if it's not known whether it's going to be an in-swinger or like a swing out the way. It is very difficult. So as a trick, I think we need to use more, because it just, the way you set up is just completely different as well. You know yourself, it's going to be going over your head, or it's going to sort of swing round. Again, I'm doing that movement with my hands and
It looked like you were going to win the heater there, Scott.
It's not that. I'm watching you. My eyes are fixated in your hands when they're going left and right there. So Ian, we're 1-0 up 19 minutes in. For the next 10-15 minutes, I thought Rangers controlled the game, and maybe not many clear-cut chances, but we were getting ourselves into very, very decent areas. And I was thinking to myself that we do need to get a second goal here to kill this game off, because Kilmarnock are always likely to come back into the game. Is it a worry that we've not got that second goal and killed it in the first half?
This season, not so much, because I'm not so worried that we're going to concede a goal this season. Like last season, you definitely needed a second at Kilmarnock, didn't you? I think we don't win that last season. But this season, you're much more confident that the defence will hold out, and that while a second goal would be more comfortable, you don't necessarily need it.
That's an important point, and it's a cliche as well. This time last season, when we are leaking goals left, right and centre, we don't win that game. We concede at least one. So taking us into the second half, Graeme, where it was quite a cagey affair. Kilmarnock had more of the ball. Obviously, a lot of credit's got to go to the defence, and McGregor as well had a couple of decent saves, but do you think we stood off them a bit? Do you think we sat too deep?
Yeah, definitely. I thought we let it go. It was actually for the 40th minute when they started to put a bit of pressure on us. It was just before the break that they actually started to try and come out and start playing. But I'm not able to understand why it changed. I don't know what changed in the Rangers team. Was it just that? Did we just sit back and invite it on? I think we changed our tactic as well to go through the middle, which we just mentioned earlier, the correct tactic, or the tactic that seemed to be most effective was get it wide, and that didn't seem to be happening. We seem to be playing into their strengths and allowing Power and Dicker in the midfield to get more passes together, and but it was definitely worrying that we allowed it to happen. But the defence was great. I don't think we had too much to worry about. They had a couple of shots, but nothing too worrying. I think it's just our nerves as Rangers fans in the last few seasons that have led us to be over nervous or over, just a wee bit worried that something's going to happen. But I think in the whole, our defence managed the game and managed it out and didn't allow too many threats towards our goal.
Just on how they set up in the second half then, so we didn't go wide as much. And this is going to sound so stupid, so apologies. See, when Gerrard brought on Balogun in the 86th minute, that was the first time in maybe 20, 30 minutes that Rangers then had an outball. They played Ken and Etten through the centre, allowed Tavernier and Barisic to go wider with that back three. I mean, I think if he does that maybe 15, 20 minutes earlier, we would have been a lot more comfortable. Because I think we were firefighting for a lot of the game. In the second half, there was long balls going up and it wasn't sticking. But with Etten and Kent going through the middle, I think let us see the game out. Scott, I said last week 3 points was all that mattered, and Rangers had to address the question of mentality. They went into this game 6 points ahead with a chance to go 9 points clear. Cliche alert but last year we bottled that. Have they answered a lot of questions today?
I think so, yeah. It was, of course, we'd have liked to have, scored more goals and perhaps a bit more pleasing in the eye, but we need to grind out these results. It's, we're desperate to see some style, and Gerrard said earlier in the season, give somebody a battering, but at the end of the day, 3 points is all that matters. And I think just that, the state, like Rugby Park, you don't care how we play it as long as we go back with 3 points. So absolutely delighted. As you say, the mentality, it's because it's more or less the same team. You look at the Celtic game, for example, that was like all players that played last season, if you know what I mean. So it's not as if it's a completely new team. So in Sky Sports, I seen they made the point about not having fans in. Is that maybe working to Rangers' advantage? I think definitely. I think we've been very fortunate, and I think you said it last week, Ian, if we can stay out, if we can keep away from the pitch and they keep winning, we'll all be happy, won't we?
Graeme, you mentioned earlier that when we're watching the game as fans, we're natural. It's only natural that we're going to be nervous. Is that something that the fans need to address and need to work on, or is it a case that we're not going to change, so the Rangers team have to?
I don't think we'll ever change that. When you're in stadiums and a pass goes astray, it's a collective groan. The whole, I don't know how you change that. I don't know. But that atmosphere does exist. Sorry?
You change that by winning trophies.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you know? Thinking back, does that? I've always remembered being at Ibrox and that groan being there whenever a pass goes astray. I don't, even when we were dominating and winning trophies. But yeah, how do you change a culture, a fan group? I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm not sure it is that big a deal. I don't know if the players are feeding off of that energy or not. I'm not sure. I think it is just a different team mentality. It's maybe not having that big an impact. It's, we probably play it up too much because we are so involved in it, but maybe the team just need to know that they can grind out these results, and now that they're starting to do it, it's learning, it's behavioural learning that they're taking on board, and they can grind these results out. So,
Ian, we're going to come on to the European game in a wee while, but I thought Glenn Kamara was excellent in that game, and the last few weeks he was dropped onto the bench today. in terms of the midfield three, is there anybody you've seen today? So we've seen Arfield, Aribo, Jack and Davis all feature. Is there anybody there that's really stood out for you and is going to keep Kamara out of the team?
I don't know about keeping Kamara out of the team, but today I thought Aribo was quite good. He had some nice little kind of moments around the edge of the box and that, and it looks like he's almost getting back to full match sharpness. So once he gets up to full speed again and gets back going, I think he's probably the most likely to come in. I think maybe out on the right or like part of the three or whatever. I think Kamara comes back. I think Kamara going out was more with Thursday in mind than much anything else really, because obviously away in Portugal you're going to have a hard shift.
It's probably stole Graeme's thunder here with being part of the Ryan Jack supporters club, but I've got some stats here from Sky Sports on Ryan Jack, and it's unbelievable to be fair. So he had 63 successful passes, 45 passes in the opposition half, 11 times possession gained in 88 touches. So he has made the most successful passes in Scottish Premier League this season, 837, and has a passing accuracy of 90%. So I think he's been fantastic. I think he deserved man of the match today. And you think he was injured for a big part, and he still played the most. Obviously, we played more games than Celtic, but take nothing away from that. That's absolutely brilliant, and he's a vital part of our team. I think him and Kamara are must starts really for bigger games anyway.
I think this goes back to the point that we were making last week, where there is so much strength in depth, and I think we need to start looking at when a player's on the bench, it's not necessarily them being dropped, it's about them being managed, because we can't expect Glenn Kamara to play 68 games a season at that level. We can't expect Ryan Jack to do the same. It's about managing the players, so it's good to see that they are taking their opportunities when it comes up. I want to know, how much do you think you get paid for that job at Sky Sports, counting how many times somebody touches the ball?
I think he was a different company. I think he was a company for it.
Aye, I might go on a S1 job, see if they're looking. So this leaves Rangers top of the league, 9 points ahead of Celtic, having played 2 games more. Rangers' next game in the league is at home to Hamilton, who haven't played since the 20th of October due to the COVID restrictions and games being called off. So, Graeme, I don't want to sound cocky or complacent here, but with the Rangers squad and how we're playing, we should be able to put out any rotation, and if we execute our own game plan, we should be looking at 3 points there. Am I right?
100%. Nothing to fear there. Yeah, a routine win should do it. 2-0. Make it a 2-0 victory that we're always getting these days. Nothing to fear. It is an important one though. I think we do need to take the 3 points and just keep that pressure on, keep that gap at the top. It is really important that we apply the pressure to Celtic, because that gap's growing. Not expecting them to drop points against Motherwell, but they are playing Motherwell away. Motherwell have had a good few results the last couple of weeks as well, so they're picking up. They had a terrible start to the season, but they're picking up. They won at the weekend, or won yesterday as well. But no, we need to just apply the pressure and make these games routine. We're starting to do that now. We are starting. That today's a prime example of just making sure that we get the job done. But no, as you say, there's no team that we should be able to muster up there that can't do the job, and a clean sheet is just going to give you confidence. We'll definitely score. So as long as we keep the clean sheet, we'll definitely get 3 points.
Moving on to the European scene then, Rangers played host to Lech Poznan on Thursday night and made it 2 wins out of 2 for the group stage with a 1-0 win. Iain, this was probably a more difficult game than what it was built up to be in the days before. A lot of fans had read and seen that they're a fairly attacking team, and I think there was a kind of feeling that we were going to be able to pick them off in the counter-attack, but it didn't set up like that at all, did it?
No, I had heard the same things, that they were a bit gung-ho and just all-out attack. We'll score more than you kind of team. Don't really care about defending. But they definitely weren't like that. They were a good team. They passed the ball about well. Okay, they did pass it about a lot at the back. We seem to let their defenders have it. And then once they kind of came into our half, then we started to press them. They didn't worry us that much. They had one chance where the boy crossed it, and it was just a bit over-hit the cross, didn't he? It was a bit of a scare. But yeah, they weren't as attacking as I expected from what we had heard. And maybe that was just trying to get something out of the game more than... So a bit more game management than playing their own style. Thinking that, well, if we keep Rangers quiet, like we know teams sitting in against us can do, then we might be able to nick a goal on the counter-attack.
I think that's a good point. So, I'm not going to lie and say I watched the Benfica Poznan game, but for what I've read, they had a go at Benfica. I don't know if they've seen that as a free hit, so we'll try and get something. But they had 19 shots on target against Benfica and only one against us. Scott, I don't know if I'm looking too much into this, but I'm seeing this as a story in itself, that teams are now seeing us as an obstacle they need to overcome, and they need to prepare a different way and manage the game a different way. I think our European runs the last 2 years, it's fair dues that teams see us like that.
Did you say it was as a compliment? People have maybe taken a bit note in terms of the shots and everything. They're at home. Maybe that had a bit of an impact, and then they're going away, obviously, to Glasgow. It might affect their game plan a bit. But I think in terms of the last 2 years, the group stages, the teams have been very good. I think there's nobody who have really. If you looked at them in terms of the quality, they are the poorest team that we've faced in the last 2 years. And I'm not on paper, I thought they gave us a really good game, and it was to get over this hurdle where we were expected to dominate the ball was a very different test for us. I think we did do a professional job. Again, as I said earlier, I would love it to be 3-4-0, and which I think few people were expecting. But at the end of the day, we got 3 points, and it's 6 out of 6. And we'll obviously look forward to Benfica in a bit, but it's there's not as much pressure on the games. We can still qualify even if the worst case scenario we don't get any points out of them 2 games. So put ourselves in a great position.
Graeme, Alfredo Morelos came on as a sub for Kemar Roof and equalled Iain McCreadie's European goal scoring record, and so it's came at the right time for Rangers. They needed that goal to get the 3 points, but I think it really came at the right time for him. I think we spoke last week about how important he has been for the team without being prolific, but I think this will go a long way towards his confidence.
Yeah, I hope so. You're absolutely right. He needed it. He's a confidence player, and that was a great header, absolute bullet header. Got in the right position, read the cross well, and got himself that extra yard in the box, and a really good header. But yeah, it definitely coming at the right time for Morelos, that he's now going to need to build on that. And I thought he played all right today. Didn't have too much going forward in terms of attacks, but he was still trying to link up, and he was laid a nice one off for Arfield today as well. But yeah, the European stage is his platform in it. I don't know if he sees that as the shop window for himself, or maybe it is just up against European type teams that he's more suited. Scott was saying there about the teams that we've been playing in the last few years are all quality when you get to the group stage. They're all technically gifted. Feyenoord played great against us. Porto, they all pass a ball, control it instantly, and they're very technically minded. And I noticed that again with Poznan, that they were exactly the same, so technical. So we've done well to overcome them. But yeah, Morelos on the score sheet doing the job for us, and equaling that Super Ali's record. I'm sure he'll be delighted to see it being overcome, if it means a a goal on Benfica on Thursday night.
You see Alan McCoy's comment as well. He said, "Oh, I don't know about that league because they're all in the Champions League." Like that.
I think Alan McCoy was full of praise, but he did just want to remind people that he could kick a ball himself. You're right, Graeme. They were a decent team, very technical, and the speed I thought was brilliant as well. In hindsight, on the face of it wasn't the best performance for Rangers, but I was pleased with how we done against a team so well drilled. Ian, a lot of people were unhappy about John Campbell's 7 out of 10 question. I think people overreacted when he asked the manager, was he pleased with getting the result, even though the team were only going 7 out of 10. The manager kind of nipped back at him, but I thought it was a fair question, and I thought he was maybe even trying to give a compliment. What was your take on that?
To be honest, I don't think, other than maybe Kamara, many people did perform above a 7. It's like, I don't know, but I think the manager's every right to defend his team. I think we've had a good result in Europe when we've not played particularly well. So, yeah, the criticism of it was maybe a wee bit over the top. And the fact that, like I say, most, other than Kamara for me, nobody really performed any better than a 7. But I think the manager's always going to stick up for the team.
And so he should be. So he should be sticking up. You say he should be sticking up for the team. He's just watched us go top of the group in the UEFA Cup. We should be sticking up for the team to say, hold on a minute, we've just got 3 points against a top European side here. I'm all for that. He's been coming off of that game thinking the plan that I put in place, the tactics that I put in place to see us get a victory and a clean sheet has worked. I think that's. I think he's not. I disagree. I think he should be having a snipe back at the journalist there and saying, no, that's not a 7 out of 10 performance. We've came out to do a job, executed the plan, and got the 3 points. I'm all for Steven Gerrard sticking up for us there.
I think as well, we've found different ways to win. I think last season, if we didn't win the one way, the nice pass and everything, we wouldn't win. And we found it very difficult. But you look at today, especially, a lot more direct, and it's not about playing like Barcelona and in the under Pep Guardiola, Man City or whatever. It's about how can we beat Kilmarnock? What is their weakness? Okay, we'll try and exploit. We need to get more balls in that corner. So I think Gerrard is actually learning more and more by each year, and say we've got Plan B, C, and D now. Before we maybe only had A and B. So It's great to see.
But I think that's where the compliment lies in the initial question, that we're not playing our preferred style in some of these games. Sometimes we need to work out a different way, and it doesn't look great, but we're still getting the result. I think that's where the compliment was intended. But I'm never going to moan about Steven Gerrard sticking up for the players, especially after 3 points in Europe. Sticking with yourself, Scott, how do Rangers set up against Benfica on Thursday? This is arguably the toughest test we'll have in the group stage under Gerrard's reign. What are you thinking?
It's a hard one. Some really good players for Benfica.
So let me start. Defence.
Oh, is that actually 11 you want now?
Well, no, just a couple of talking points. So let me put you in the spot. Balogun or Hollander, who comes in?
Balogun.
Is that because you're biased, or do you think?
Balogun loyal. I'll run that supporters club. Graeme can take Ryan Jack, but no, I think he's done absolutely nothing wrong in Europe to merit him being dropped. I thought he was one player that was over probably an 8 out of 10 on Thursday. I thought he was brilliant. Him and Kamara especially were really good on Thursday. So I would definitely have Balogun. He doesn't merit being dropped for me in Europe. And he's maybe a bit fresher as well if Landers played today.
Ian, what midfield three did we set up with? I think Glenn Kamara for me is a must, and then the debate is who goes in alongside him, because But I think there's equal arguments for Jack, Davis and Arfield, potentially Aribo as well. Who do you go with?
I think Jack Kamara are two definites for me. And then it's, for me, the third one in the middle is between Arfield and Davis. And it's either going to be Davis is playing the Jack role today, or Arfield Jack playing where he did today, and Arfield like up on the right. And I think more for Arfield's energy and work rate that he comes in, because it's away in Europe. It's going to be an absolute nightmare shift, isn't it? Aribo generally puts in a good shift. I don't think he doesn't work hard, but I think Arfield just gives you more energy, more effort, a better work rate. I think we'll probably see Barker come back in for his pace. So I don't think we'll see Aribo in the midfield. So for me, it'd be, I'd probably go Jack, Kamara, Arfield.
Great. My next question would have been, does Brandon Barker come back into the fold? We know Ian thinks he will, and I'm inclined to agree with Ian, because I think away in Europe, the likes of Arfield, Barker, they give you a bit more in terms of the off the ball movement and pressing. And I think, well, we're going to spend a bit of time off the ball on Thursday. Does Barker come in, and who's up front alongside him if he does?
No, it's no Barker for me. I'd go Tav, Goldson, Balogun and Barisic. Jack and Kamara, I think we're all in agreement there. I'll go Arfield, Aribo and Kent, with Morelos up front. My only concern about Aribo is he's played 60 minutes today, so has he still been managed back from fitness? So that would be my only concern, is he match fit? Is he able to do after 60 minutes? Is he able to give us another 60 minutes? But that would be my starting 11. Only the goalkeeper is McGregor well number one now? Was McGregor just been sort of managed back from fitness? Because McLaughlin's been dropped after so many clean sheets. Is that a bit harsh, do any of you think? Or was McGregor always a number one and it was just biding his time to get him fit again?
Well, I think McGregor was always going to be number one, and John McLaughlin was brought in as a decent enough backup if he gets injured, and B, someone who can push McGregor. So if he does drop in form, McLaughlin can come in fairly comfortably. I think we need to be realistic with McGregor's age. He's 38 now, and I know even as a goalkeeper, 60 games a season is a lot. So I think we will see McLaughlin more than we've seen Wes Fordingham. I get it is harsh for John McLaughlin after such a decent start of the season, but Scott, I think McGregor's shown in the last few weeks that he pulls off his saves that he shouldn't be making, whereas McLaughlin will only pull off his saves that he should be making, if that makes sense.
You're maybe being a bit harsh on McLaughlin, but I think McGregor is a better shot stopper. But next week at home to Hamilton, I've got no concerns about McLaughlin coming in there. Graeme, you're absolutely right. He's done nothing to merit being dropped. I don't think necessarily I think his last game may have been Hibs one, where we conceded 2, but I don't necessarily think it was at fault. We maybe could have done better with one of the goals, but I think it's just like in terms of McGregor, the influence he brings to the defence as well. I mean, this is just looking from the outside, but John McLaughlin seems quite a quiet guy, and McGregor's anything but quiet. You know what I mean? So I think that's quite important for your defence, and it's critical for all these clean sheets we're getting as well. McGregor's not scared to shout at Goldson, shout at Tav if they're not doing their job. Would McLaughlin give us the same? I don't know.
That season, Hollander gave a bit back. McGregor had a goal, and I'm sure Hollander had a wee goal back. So I think that's good as well that they've got that. Goldson's a communicator. Hollander's a communicator. And Tav's a communicator. I've not seen it so much yet from Barisic, but that back four, communication's huge in the back four. So the fact that they're all able to voice their concerns and nobody's going to be shouted down is a really good thing. But maybe that. I just had a couple of concerns about his kick-outs sometimes. When he's kicking a ball out, it's sometimes he's always trying to pick out Barisic or Tav, but there's a few times it's just going to the pitch. But it's the pros and cons there, isn't it? He's a better shot stopper, but maybe a not as good distributor with the passing.
Ian, I'm going to put you in the spot. This has just kind of popped in my head when we were talking about players playing maybe 60 odd games a season. I think the big concerns we would have had about strength and depth would have been the fullback. We've kind of addressed the forward lines, midfield, centre half. Bassey's come in, done a decent job in Europe and domestically. We've not really seen Nathan Patterson other than a cameo appearance, and we were talking about Tav earlier on today, how important he's been. Is this going to be a concern that we might not be able to rest him as often as we maybe want to, or what if he gets injured, touch wood?
I think the next home game is the perfect time to rest him. Him or Goldson should be coming out for that game. Hamilton at home is when they've not played for 3 weeks. If we can't rest the players, then when are we going to rest them? Bassey, I've got no. Now we've seen him. He's came on in Europe and he's had a cracking performance in Europe. Played really well against Motherwell. Any other time he's come on, he's been excellent. So I've got no problem with Bassey coming in at any time now. From what I've seen, he can. I'd be quite happy for Bassey to come in at Celtic Park. Like that right now, I don't have any problem with Bassey playing any game. From what we've seen, I know he's only 20, I think, isn't he? But he's bigger than 90% of the league. It's not like he's a young boy coming in playing a boy against men. He's coming in and he's a tank playing against men. So the physical side of it, he can absolutely handle. Patterson, maybe not so much, but Hamilton at home, absolutely get him in there.
I think you're right in terms of rotating for that game, but it's the international break after, so if we can use them, you don't need. I'm sure one more game against Hamilton at home. Gerrard will give it some time off. I think he goes down and sees his family and things like that. So I don't think there's a need to rest. I think definitely we can use 5 subs in our league. For winning 2-0 at half time last week, throw on Patterson, give him a 45 minutes, make a few changes, maybe pull Goldson out as well. But I just it's about this rotating too much. We don't want to. I think Defoe's a shoe-in to start next week as well. Very similar to when we played Livingston at home. I think he'll come in and do a good job. So yeah, but I think just with the international break, there's not a need to really rest.
So I get what you're saying, if we're 2-3-0, we have now to go bring him on. He's not even made the bench the last 2 weeks, Patterson, and I don't want to make a mountain out of nothing, but I think back to when we relied on Tavernier so much, he got injured, and Matt Polster came out from nowhere. He had barely featured on the bench, and then he was expected to play, and it doesn't even. You expect a drop off in the areas, but Polster had featured that little that it scuppered the full game plan. So that's my only slight concern going on just now.
Is Patterson? I've not looked at the youth team. Has Patterson been playing for the B team then?
No.
Because obviously Polster wouldn't have been doing that because of his age, but Patterson's obviously still of an age where he can play for that team.
As far as I know, he's not been playing with the B team. It's mainly been the under-19s that have been in the B team.
And as well, if we do need it, if Patterson's not up to the job, if he's not performing in training, there's nothing to say Jack can't slot in at right back. He's more than able to play there. So I think we've got cover across there. It's not a great concern. I agree with Scott though in terms of let's not rotate too much. We've got an international break, so it's going to be 14 days before we play Aberdeen after the Hamilton game. So there's a bit of time to just relax. And Tav's not going to won't be playing international football, so he'll have his time to relax and recuperate.
I know there's been a lot made the last couple of years about our trips to Dubai and how we come back after that, but I actually think this international break might come at a good time. I mean, say like we should be getting 3 points against Hamilton. That's a given. If we get a decent result against Benfica, it finishes off a really good round of fixtures, and the fixtures have came very thick and fast, been very hectic. I think it might be a good chance to, for players to go away where international teams kind of switch off a bit for Rangers and then come back, and the players who aren't going, we've got time to just kind of reset. And for the managers to reset as well, Scott, you said Gerrard will go back down south, and I think he comes at the right time. Zem, do you disagree? Or
no, I wouldn't disagree. I think you're right. I mean, we're all in the same boat. It's a long 2 weeks without it, and I think it's just because we're from Scotland, they've not gave us much to cheer about in the past few years. But it's if there was to be an international break, it probably is the time. I think it works well with the Benfica game as well, because I mean, touch wood, and I don't think it will. If we have a hard night against them and they take a few goals off us, and you're playing them a week later, it's hard mentally to get over that. But at least if they've had 2 weeks, hopefully a good international break for them, maybe you'd hope maybe somebody scores or something, and you can come back with a fresh mindset going into the game at home. It's completely different than playing them a week later.
Only that Benfica are playing tomorrow night. Maybe worth having a wee watch at that. I don't know if you will be. I don't know what channel it will be on or anything, but I'm sure we'll be able to find a link to it. But they're playing Boavista tomorrow night, so I'm going to tune into that if I can. They're playing Boavista. Boavista are second bottom of the league, so they're not great. I know they've been in Europe and in Champions Leagues in the last few years and things, but they've not started very well. But it'll be interesting to see how they turn out. And as well, that's an extra day's rest that we're getting ahead of them. But we're travelling, so it's probably six of one, half a dozen of the other. But yeah, I'll be having a look at Benfica tomorrow night.
So moving on to other games that we've kept, on the subject of other teams we've kept an eye on. Ian, seen Kai Kennedy started for Inverness, and Josh McPake played for Morton. Was it?
I think so.
So, Ian, Kai Kennedy, you mentioned off air that he got an assist. It's good to see him playing regular first team football now. It's what's your thoughts on him?
I've been impressed anytime I've seen him. I was up at the Colts game up in Inverness last season, and I believe that game against them is the reason they wanted him on loan. He absolutely tore them to pieces that day. It was absolutely outstanding. And I think that's why they've come in to get him on loan. And if he goes there and performs well, then hopefully he'll sign a new deal with us. Because I think he's a cracking wee player. And one of these players that, like a bit like Kent and Arabo and Hadji, that we've said, he can kind of produce that wee moment of magic from nothing.
Graeme, Josh McPake, I don't know if you know too much about him, but he had a really poor loan spell last year at Dundee. He went out for most of the season. He stayed on the bench, didn't even make it off. He's now starting for Morton. I think he's 2021. Realistically, after a bad loan spell, can a player like Josh McPake recover in the Championship and make their way back into Rangers at the age of 21?
Yeah, that's not too old to make a breakthrough. Yeah, thinking he's game time. No, there's no point in him going out to Dundee and not to get a game. So if he's going to get regular starts at Morton, then that is the way to do it. But if you're not going to prove yourself at Dundee last season, do you have the ability to prove yourself? But it's nothing to suggest. You get late bloomers. Sometimes people develop a wee bit later, and famous examples, David Weir, coming into professional football to 23-year-old. I don't think he played his first professional game, so it's nothing to suggest that he can't develop at a later stage. But yeah, he's going to have to rack up some games. I don't suppose you could go 2 seasons without getting regular game time in the Championship. So he's going to need to establish himself in that team and see if they can see if they can take it forward. Get a good result at the weekend, beating Ayr Morton. So if they start picking up results like that, which is a good result, he needs to be part of that team and part of any successes they might have.
Scott, we've got maybe about 10, 11 players out in loan in total, but we're not going to go through every one of them. I find the most excitement in terms of our youth prospects this year was around Stephen Kelly. He got Ayers Player of the Year last year, deservedly so. He was brilliant in the championship for a boy his stature playing at that level. He's very small and he competed so well in a physical league. He's not got too many games for Ross County, but he got his first start yesterday. Obviously, they did get beat, but is this promising that he's actually now back in the lineup?
Yeah, definitely. Always good to see them starting. I think you get a bit concerned if they can't get in the pitch for Ross County. How are they going to get anywhere close to our team, especially with their depth? But it's all about them, going on to have a good career as well. It's if they don't make it. We spoke about this a few weeks ago. We want to make the academy the best in the country. We want all the best players to come to Rangers, and then so we want to showcase them to have a good career. But I think in terms of I think Graeme, you brought up the age just there. You're still a young player when you're 23, 24 sometimes, and you've only played a handful of games. You go back maybe 10, 15 years, a young player was somebody at 17, 18 breaking through. But when was the last 17 or 18? He plays for Barcelona just now, but I can't think of. There's one in Barcelona, but I can't think of the last player at maybe 17, 18, even 19 for either of the firm teams that came in and broken the scene. So there's plenty of time for these people to really up their game and make a stake for a first team place.
Well, here's hoping that they all don't just get game time just because they're on loan for Rangers. I want them to deserve the game time when the opportunities come along. They do well, and yeah, we'll keep an eye on them for the rest of the season. So, very last thing before we move on to rounding up the show, the retro kits. Iain, I know you're a big kit man. What's your thoughts on A, the design of it, and B, have you taken out a second mortgage to buy one yet?
No, I've not bought one yet. I did get a nice wee voucher through from Castolo saying I've got £25 off 100 spend, so I could put that towards it potentially. I like it. I think it's cracking. It's we had the top a few years ago, didn't we? That was the 2010 top.
2012, the 140th anniversary. Was it
the one with the white collar?
Yeah.
The plain blue white collar, very similar to the retro top. So I like it. I think it's cracking. I like when they do this, the plain top with just the white collar. Interesting to see when we wear it right enough.
So that's fine. They've Tavernier said in his interview he can't wait to wear it. Is this something that they are going to wear in a competitive game this season?
Select games it is, yeah.
Is it?
So it'll be I'd assume like a home game or something. Like I think Man City done it as well. I think this season in the Charity Shield or whatever it's called. They wore like a retro top, and I remember Man U having one years ago. So I don't understand like for like the sponsor 32 Red. Like, they surely can't be happy because they're just going to can't wear it. I don't know why they don't, because there's certain tops in Europe we can't wear that logo. So the logical thing would be we'll use it in a European game.
So you can't advertise gambling in Poland because we had to take off the sponsor for Warsaw last year. So that would be the logical one.
But probably a home league game or something.
Yeah. Who knows? But okay, so rounding off, best part of the show. Has anybody seen anything good on the world of social media, Rangers or football related, this week? I'll kick us off. Funniest thing I've seen, somebody tweeted, Shane Duffy is just an F.A. Ambrose with a wolf-toned CD. It's funny because it's true. Iain, have you seen it and you've enjoyed this week?
No, I haven't. Not really been on social media that much this week. So.
Thanks for doing your homework before the pod. Graeme, what about yourself?
Yeah, I seen a WhatsApp rumour. Supposedly Lennon and Brown just had a fight in the dressing room. Laxalt tried to split it up and got his glasses broke. He's now really upset and looking to end his loan spell. I just like the wee bit. He's now really upset. I just can imagine that wee guy being a wee greeting in the dressing room. Try to pick up the glasses for the dressing room floor, going, I want out of here. Send me back to Milan.
Via Specsavers. Scott, what have you seen this week?
Oh, it was when we get gifted some croissants from Lech Poznan on their arrival to Ibrox, and the comments was hilarious. So it said, "Cringe is going out Lidl bakery before a European game." A disgruntled Polish person who I'm not going to. I'll translate in English. I'm not going to try it in Polish. He said, "What the fuck are you? What did your croissants do? Pack your suitcase and get canned beans out of the cans on the Scottish clouds," which I've got no idea what that means. And then Rab G writes back, "Relax, or I won't let you wash my car this weekend." A nice bit of gentle racism.
Well, that brings us to the end of the show for this week. Just a bit of a plug for the pod to finish this week off. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and as you'll know, all our shows are available on Apple and Acast. We only have one ask. If you can leave a comment on any platform or get in touch, tell us what you think about the show in general, any points we've made, or anything we've said or missed, and if you don't agree with, even if you want to point out that I talk shite, that's absolutely fine. If you want to get in touch, we'd really appreciate it. All that's left to do is thank my three co-hosts. First of all, Mr. Iain McCreadie.
Thanks for having us.
Graeme Currie.
Thanks very much, boys.
And Scott Hodge.
Cheers, Walter.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.